Welcome back to the Foundation. This is Swaytoven, and this is, in my opinion, the best way to make your pad sound as atmospheric as possible. We're going to give it a listen first, and then I'm going to talk about it. It's real simple. The first listen, we're going to hear it with the reverb. It's going to sound atmospheric. And the second time I listen to it, it's going to sound all weak and centered and stuff like that. So this is with the atmosphere. Right? That's what you want your pads to sound like, and this is what it sounds like without the reverb and all that good stuff. It actually sounds super weak. And it's not even to say it sounds weak, it's just that we clearly hear the difference between there being reverb and atmosphere and it being on the side and stuff like that, than it coming straight down the middle. So let's talk about it. First, you have to understand that we are mixing in stereo. So on the master channel, I have a stereo imager. All right, you can get one for free from Ozone. The reason why I have a stereo imager is because it allows us to manipulate the information on the side to create more space. Manipulate the information in the mid to create more space to carve out something. Okay, and there you go. So just put an imager on the master. Screw anyone who says mixes in mono. All right, like, you feel me? Like, I think just mixing stereo. If you want to go back in mono, do it. All right. Now, what I have on my first instrument track is reverb, nothing else, just reverb. And if I want to have anything with reverb, I'll just route it to this reverb instrument track, much how I did this pad. Okay, this pad is only routed to the reverb is because I only want to hear the reverb. There's no dry signal. Now, if I were to route the pad to the master, you didn't hear the dry signal, but it's covered up by the reverb. We all heard how weak that dry signal was, and we all hear how powerful the reverb is. So there's no point in even doing that. Now, an extra step that I did, and you don't have to do this, is that this reverb is not linked to the master. It's actually linked to another track that has a saturator. How I route my stuff is like I'll put all my melodies in one group, and then I'll put it to the master. I'll put my drums in a group and put it to another bus, and then put it to a master. But like, yeah, there you go. So the pad is linked to the reverb, which is linked to the melody master, right, which is then linked to the actual master. I'm not trying to confuse anyone, but you can also see it. All right. Nothing special on this pad, just some equalization, but that's also actually important when manipulating the mid side. Okay, I talked about it in my last video. Yes, with the reverb setup like this, and it connected to the reverb, and this is important to this routing. How much you put in here, like the reverb, 100% mix. You see it, what you see. You can literally copy it down. That's all people do is copy stuff anyway. You know what I'm saying? But this is important because there's a stereo imager on the master. Okay, and the only way a stereo imager works is when you change the input mode to mid side. When you start equalizing these frequencies to create the space and carve out more space, you're going to have to make sure your equalizer is in mid side. All right, much how Pro Q3 can do. These S's and M's, this just means side, this means mid. There's other ones that go right, left, and right, but we're not mixing in left and right. We're not mixing in L and R. We're mixing in MS. You can't. It's as simple as that. Okay, all right. At that point, when you get to this point, linear phase and zero phase, I really don't know much about it, but like this side band right here, this is what you're going to be hearing mostly with the reverb. Okay, and it's like, I feel like it'd be hard to hear it if I just start playing with it. So it's just like we can do it. Now you kind of heard some movement there, I'd like to think. And it's funny is because the reason why I started doing some of this is because I was trying to pan it, and I was like, well, you can't really pan anything that is in mid side, but you can try to, like I said, make it move it somewhere, right? Now let's play with the mid frequencies, and you can hear how space is carved out, or it sounds more heavy, like it's coming down the middle. That might have been harder to hear, and I don't blame you. Maybe this is actually just extra and I don't need it. All right. But like the difference, like if you didn't even hear what I said, you can just copy what you see here. You know what I'm saying? Like the difference between the reverb being on and off is pretty apparent. So let's hear it without the reverb. All right, let's hear it without that mid-side information. Let's just hear it plain. And then let's put the reverb back on it. It's going to be loud. And in relation to another sound that's coming straight down the middle, which I really don't have much of. Maybe this bell. Nope. Maybe this harp. I don't think it is coming down the middle. It's also routed to reverb, but there's nothing going to the reverb, so. Like, do you hear that? Like, do you hear how that the pad doesn't sound like it's coming down the middle? You know, the harp is. Let's turn the reverb off and hear it again, right? Just to get the contrast.